Welcome to The Funnel. My name is John Chan. I'm president of Alignment Group. This is episode number 241 of The Funnel. Sales managers hold the key to increase sales performance. That's a mouthful. Before we get started, I want to remind you to head on over to alignment-group.com/The Funnel, subscribe, and we'll send you the weekly show notes. Keep in mind that I only send the weekly email out. Now, that doesn't mean in the future I might send some other stuff, and I'm looking at that. But I'm not going to send you a daily email with a bunch of junk in it. That can be a little overwhelming. I know, because I subscribe to stuff and I get emails every day and I just can't keep up with it. So what I try to do is condense it down into the weekly that provides you the show notes from the two podcasts and, of course, my blogs that are generally companion pieces to the podcast. Not that week's podcast, but we usually do it a couple of weeks after. So you get the benefit of seeing that information in a couple of different formats. And then occasionally we offer things to our subscribers that only subscribers get. And one of the things that we offer to any subscriber is a free half-hour coaching call. So if you are a subscriber and you are on the list for subscribing and you want a coaching call, you give me a call or you send me an email. And then we schedule a time. I'll send you a link to the schedule, and then we schedule a time. And I set aside time every week for those free coaching calls. Dirty little secret is I kind of like it. It's fun. I still like to make money, but it's fun. If I can help you in any way, then I'll help you. If I can guide you or direct you towards things that might help you, I'll do that. And if that means some things that I do, that's what I'll do. And if it means that there are things that I don't do, I'll send you to other places. My objective is to help the people who listen to my podcast get better at what they do. So let's talk about the agenda for today. First is what's going on. Next is simplification. Third is sales enablement. And then fourth is A time. So what do I mean by what's going on? And in the beginning of this, the way it's set up on the video, it's in the form of just what's going on. And then when I get to the slide about what is actually going on, it's a question because I don't know what's going on. And I'm sure you're trying to figure out what I mean by that. I don't know what's going on with your team. Okay? So let me give you the sort of the gist of this podcast and what I'm attempting to do here. One of the things I find truly amazing is that we hire salespeople to drive business and to sell product or services for us. And then what we do is we say to them, here's what I want you to do. I want you to swim across this lake. And I'm not going to give you any training or any onboarding or any development. So I'm not going to teach you how to get your cardio up and how to long distance swim. I'm going to give you a manual on that and say good luck. And then right before you take the swim, I'm going to put a 50-pound weight around your neck and say go. And then when you sink or you drown, I'll stand there and say, or we have to save you, come out in the boat and save you. Drown's probably a bit much. Then I'm going to ask you why you didn't achieve the targeted objective of swimming across the lake. We gave you everything you needed. We hired you. We brought you into the company. We gave you a position. We told you what you needed to do, and you didn't do it. And that's what I see a lot with sales reps. So I'm going to put onboarding aside for a second and put hiring and coaching and development and talk about a place that I think is another issue for salespeople. And that's the burden of additional work, what I call busy work, over and above their sales work. So let me start by saying that I expect my salespeople to show up on time for work. Right? If we have a meeting at 8 o'clock, you're there before 8 o'clock and you're sitting in the meeting at 8 o'clock. That if you're going to come into the office for the day, you don't come strolling in at 9:30 and leave at 4. I find that offensive. Some might disagree with me. Well, they're out in the field. It sets a bad, the optics are bad. Unless you have an appointment or a meeting first thing and then you come in and then you have another appointment. I mean, the optics are really bad. There are people that show up every day and they go to their cubicle and they go to their desk and they work and they see that and they create scenarios in their head that may or may not be real. So just be aware of your surroundings. So if you're going to come into the office for the day, show up in the morning and leave after 5, like everybody else. Okay? We had a manager that I worked with that used to pack up his junk at 4:30 every afternoon and just walk out. This is a fellow manager back when I was managing. Unacceptable behavior. Everybody sees him walking across the parking lot at 4:30 in the. What makes you so special? So that's not what I'm talking about here. You respect the people you work for, but we burden our salespeople and our sales managers. We burden them with busy work. So I'm going to talk about managing your people with that busy work. So what's going on with your team? Are the higher ups above you requiring all these reporting and CRM work? Are there huge admin requirements to process and order? How does that work? Well, they sold it. They need to do this, and this. And then stuff gets pushed back on them. If there's a problem with the contract, do they have to go back out? I remember little things with contracts back in the day at a company that I worked for. I mean, stupid stuff. Well, you need to get the customer to sign this. And the response would always be from the administration department, well, what if we get sued? Well, when was the last time we were sued? When was the last time someone came after us? Well, that's never really happened. So we're this multi-million-dollar company with millions of dollars in sales every year, and we've been at this for 30-something years, and we've never been sued, but I have to spend 20 minutes of my day. I have to go drive back out there. I have to call them. I mean, come on. And maybe if we did some different things with the paperwork, things would be better, or stuff wasn't done on time or processed on time, so you're in there, reps are in there chasing down orders, making sure that things are going okay, or they don't pass credit. I understand credit. I mean, is an issue, but then you have managers and folks asking for reports, maybe up the food chains, meaningless reports. I've got a friend that works for a pretty big company, sells millions of dollars a year, and he has to do these dog and pony shows for the senior management team. These faux presentations. Is that really productive? Takes 2 or 3 days to prepare for it. It takes a full day out of the field to present it. And then nothing ever comes of it. No one says, great job, good, keep up the good work. It's just like, it is what it is, right? So how much work are we forcing them to do that we don't need them to do? What are the admin requirements? What are the burdens of the emails and the phone calls and the text messages? How much support are we giving them? How many times are we calling them in for meetings? So that's the rub, right? So you have sales meetings. Do you wait till after 5 or before 8? Well, now you're pulling them away from their family. Maybe you just need to make your meetings a little more productive. Reduce the time. I remember the company. I've worked for companies, and so it all mixes, but would call people in for a 3 o'clock meeting. 3 o'clock. Now, we've got territories that are 75, 90 minutes away. And right around 3 o'clock is when the rush hour starts. They got to leave at like 1:30 for a 3 o'clock meeting. You cut half their day. Why can't they call in? No, they have to be here. Okay. Why can't we do it just really early in the morning and then they can get out in the field by 10? Nope. Not going to do that. Why can't we just cut it down to once a week or why is it 3 days a week? Why are we doing this? Because it makes management feel good. It makes admin, I don't know. So figure out what's going on with your team and ask yourself, is this the best use of their time? Are they spending their time selling? Document it. That's what I would do. Document it. Okay? Why do you want to do that? Because you want to know, how are they spending their day? And I've got a podcast on the docket for sales managers to manage their time better. That's coming up. I can't remember if it's this week or next week. Anyway, I don't know what order I'm in here. I just know that I have a bunch lined up. So what are they doing on a daily basis that's pulling them away from sales? Meetings, administrative work, paperwork. I remember looking at the paperwork and it was like 40 pages and like 20 signatures in different spots. If you get one signature wrong, the whole thing has to be done over again. Silliness. Are there meetings? Are there CRM requirements that are off the charts? CRMs today are pretty automated, so you should have updated it by now, but some of you haven't. Well, your requirements in the CRM are ridiculous. So document that. Figure out how they're using their time. Sorry, my allergies are acting up and I'm coughing here. Next, you want to simplify. You want to simplify everything. First of all, decide what's necessary and what's not. Throw the necessary stuff overboard. So some of those meetings could be, instead of 2 hours, maybe it's 1 hour and once a week instead of twice a week. Shorten it, get better agendas, figure out how to fix that. So get rid of the unnecessary stuff. Look at the processes and ask yourself, is this the best use of their time? And I tell a story about a guy who was working a large account for me years ago. 2 large accounts. That was his assignment. And he spent his time doing 2 things. 1, selling to the existing customers within those 2 accounts. And 2, walking orders through the system. We had a real tough time getting new business from him because there just wasn't enough hours in a day. So what do? We added a second rep to just drive new business in those 2 accounts. And the senior rep got a piece of that and managed this person. So they worked together as a team. It was a great, great situation. And it worked. We started expanding the business. But we still had the problem of the administrative side. So what did I do? I assigned an administrator to them. You're not allowed to do any of that stuff anymore. Your job is to sell. And here's the increase I expect from you. I reduced their workload internally and pushed them out to sales. One of the things that we do with prospects that I think is really important for managers to understand, I don't understand, and I'm passionate about this because I've been through this. I don't understand companies, and I don't understand the different sides of the house trying to dump everything on salespeople as if they don't do enough. Oh, you just sell. You go out in the field and sell. You need to go do these things over here. Oh, the salesperson can do that. What makes them better? And I get that because I just kind of got on my high horse about showing up on time and respecting people in their job that they do. But salespeople have one job. One. It's to sell your product or service. Now, there are some things that go with that, like they have to do paperwork and maintain email and CRM and stuff like that. But their primary role is to sell. And what do we do for prospects? And I get the whole methodology and sales process and all that. But ultimately, what do we do for prospects? People buy from us for 2 reasons. 1, because they like us. And 2, because we make it easy to do business. When you make it hard for people, they go away. It's too much trouble. So when you make it easy for somebody to make a decision, you make it easy to move forward with you, they like that and they like you. That's what we should be doing with our sales reps, making it easy for them to do business. I had a consultant years ago who was famous for saying, celebrate the sale. How many times a sales rep brings an order and then people start complaining and moaning and bitching about it? You didn't do this right, you didn't do that. And they're walking in with a big deal. It's like, does anybody care that went through all this blood, sweat, and tears to drive an order, and all you're doing is complaining about it? That's terrible. So you should celebrate it. And yes, they should be held accountable to doing things the right way. So if the paperwork's sloppy and they have no respect for the people internally and they dump their crap on other people, then that's a problem. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about making it easy to do business. You make a sales rep job easier, they're going to sell more. You want to drive revenue? This is an easy task. It takes a little time, but if you look at all this stuff and you think about simplification, how can I make this simple? How can I make this easy on them? Now, I got to tell you, from my perspective, it's pretty easy to understand, but I did do heavy battle internally with that because I had people in other roles, in administrative roles in the company that just couldn't get the concept, that we're just trying to make it easy so they can sell more. We're not trying to baby them or pamper them. They have a primary purpose, and that's to drive revenue. So simplifying processes, simplifying stuff that they have to do, administrative stuff, reducing their workload on that should be a goal of yours as a manager. And you'll see increased business and happier reps and retention and all the good things that come along with that. Let's talk about sales enablement. because this is part of sales enablement. Sales enablement cuts a wide swath. And I've done podcasts on that before. Look at the documentation, look at the sales tools, look at the library of things that they have to provide to prospects, whether it's brochures, interactive videos, whatever it is that you provide on a marketing level. Make it easy for them to access it. Make it easy for them to use it. You make it easier for them. You enable them to do, and I'm talking about just sales enablement from a functional perspective, not from a training and methodology and all that good stuff. That's part of sales enablement. I'm talking about strictly from the busy work that eats up their day. Can you simplify that? Can you make it easy to access the right document? Does it have a good explanation of how and when it's to be used? Do we have tools in place for them that make their, like tracking emails? Do we have tools in place to do that? HubSpot's got a great tracking tool. That's what I mean by sales enablement. You want to increase revenue? Start simplifying your sales reps' lives. It tends to go pretty wide. It tends to go pretty wide. It touches everywhere. So I'm saying that. And so what do you mean by that? It not only touches what goes on in the sales department, but it does touch other departments. And what happens is processes and programs and paperwork and all that stuff generally is built upon from a foundation, right? So you started this one thing with this product, this paperwork process, and then you ran into a problem and you added something to it. And then something else happened and you added something else to that. I had a company that was famous for that. So the documentation just got thicker and thicker and thicker, and the requirements got harder and harder and harder, because every time you ran into a problem, you solved it with more layers of red tape. That's how companies do it. It's insane. So start stripping away that stuff that doesn't make sense. Same with brochures. You start building up sales documentation, sales tools, and stuff's in. It's disparate. It's all over the place. Let's figure out how we can combine that so they have access to the right information when they need it, and they can provide it to prospects pretty quickly. How can we reduce the documentation? What tools can we help them use that are going to make their lives easier? That's what I'm talking about with sales enablement. And one of the ways you can do that is defining a time and saying, what is a time for salespeople? A time specifically defined for me is when they're signing an order, brand new piece of business. That's A time. That's a very small window. B time is everything they're doing to get that order. Okay, so B is all your prospecting, your qualifying, your meetings, your appointments, your demos, whatever it is you're doing to get that business. A is when you're actually signing the order. So that's where you need to be focused. C time is everything else, all the other junk. Processing the paperwork, making the right phone calls, ensuring that your order is going through the system, responding to emails and queries from your admin department or support staff, or blah, 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 all that stuff, attending meetings and training sessions. All of that is your C time. Start there and work backwards. What can I do in that C time to give them more B and more A time? Because if I give them more B time, they're going to get more A time. Where are they spending their time now? I just got off the phone with a client. I am not kidding you. I'm doing some coaching with the reps. So I was with one of their top reps, and we started talking about his time. One of the issues he's having is finding the time to drive more business, and he's the top rep. And I think he had done the math, and he spent 9 hours in the last month in B time. 9 hours. That's insane. Now, they do large project management deals. They're pretty good-sized deals. But he keeps getting sucked into all these things that he shouldn't be sucked into. If I just gave him twice that amount, how much more would he sell? Because he's selling a lot. So you want to increase revenue? You want to grow? This is low-hanging fruit, my friends. You don't have to buy anything, at least up front. I mean, some of the sales tools you might have to. But you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to hire anybody. New sales reps. You don't have to hire new sales reps. You don't have to do anything except get a hold of how they're spending their time. Now, to be clear, sales reps will take a fraction of that time you give back to them and keep it for themselves. That's a fact. So you got to work on that a little bit, as long as they put most of it back to the company. Subscribe to The Funnel, alignment-group.com/The Funnel. You can find us on Facebook, at Shay Downer on Twitter and LinkedIn. My website, alignment-group.com. You can contact me, jshay at alignment-group.com. Again, thank you for subscribing and keep filling the funnel.